that?
The belt came off.
Is that far back enough? Yeah, this is the easy way to move a vehicle. Instead of pulling and pushing, let's just drag it. Drag it with this thing. Alright.
Nice.
Alright, so we are finally getting back to this project. I kind of took a little break from this thing. Like I said in the previous videos of this project, I was getting this vehicle ready for a Redbeard race that was coming up, but that was also postponed. That was supposed to happen like 2 months ago. So I've really kind of put this thing away, and I've been just working on other stuff. But we have to finish it. We have to finish this thing and at least get it running and working, all that kind of stuff. We don't really have that much stuff left to do. All we need to do is build a gas tank. I do have this. This is the original gas tank that was on here, but this is just, it's made of steel. It's too big for that, so we're just going to have to make a new one, and we're going to be making it out of aluminum. So that one just goes in there. And also we have to hook up the gear shifters for the transmission. That shouldn't be hopefully too hard. As well as we need to hook up the brake pedal and the throttle pedal. So I guess the first thing we'll do is let's build the gas tank. The worst thing ever is when you feel a mosquito land on you as you're welding. Come on. gas tank is tacked together and mounted in place. It's a little short and fat gas tank, but it should have plenty of capacity for this 670. Now, I was just about to drill the hole for putting the cap right here, just like that, just like how I build most of these aluminum gas tanks. But then I realized I kind of don't want to do that because I don't want to have the, I don't want to have it a little bit, I don't have to get the gas can all the way up here over the frame to fill the gas tank up. And I kind of want to have the cap on the side like this. This will have a lot easier access. But then I'm like, I don't want to have, you know, because normally I've drilled a hole in the gas cap for venting. And I don't want to have a full gas tank, and every time I go around a corner, all the gas sloshes to one side, and I don't want a little bit of gas dribbling out every time I go around the left corner. But so I wasn't going to do that, but then I realized there's nothing saying that I have to put the vent on the cap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another one of these bungs and weld it right on the top of the gas tank, right in the middle, and then that will be the gas tank vent, and so therefore I can put the cap on the side and have a lot easier access to the gas tank to fill this thing up. Alright, gas tank is finished. I did do a pressure test on this. I didn't bother filming it, but there was no leaks, which was a miracle, because this was... there's sometimes when aluminum is easy to weld, and there's other times where it's not so easy, and this was one of those times where it just kind of was just fighting me the whole time. So, anyway, gas tank's done. Now, I want to start working on the brakes and throttle. I first want to do the brakes. All we have to do is just figure out a place to put a master cylinder. Then we have to hook up the master cylinder to the rear brake caliper. Back it.
Do it. How do you feel?
Brakes are done.
Nice.
Feel nice and...
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, we already bled the brakes. We didn't bother filming because it's boring. So, unfortunately, we do have this brake line that's going to be just crossed over. It's not really the best location for a master cylinder, but we don't really have any better choice. Oh yeah. Brakes work.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the throttle. I don't have a cable long enough to reach all the way from there to there, so I'm gonna have to somehow match two cables together. I don't know. Okay. All right, throttle cable is done.
What is that? The heck is that?
So, I tried putting a spring on that over there, and it didn't work. We need to have a spring on here because without this, the pedal is like super easy to push down and it very slowly comes back up. So I had to put a spring on here, and this was like the easiest way.
Wouldn't you put a spring all the way to the pedal instead of extra zip ties?
No, extra zip ties
Is that
work.
better?
Yeah, this works.
Adjustability?
Yeah. I just want to get it running. While you're here, I want to get this thing running so we can kind of just, I don't know, we don't really have that big of area to ride this thing. Yeah, and then once we come back from Windrock, I'll take some extra time and
properly put it together?
Do this right, but for now...
Zip tie master.
For now, this works.
Dude.
Let's work. Yeah.
Alright.
Throttle cable's done. Let's move on to wiring.
Nice.
And hopefully this engine runs. Who knows? We're getting fired.
Nice.
Yeah. Now we need to see if this thing's getting sparked and how to turn the spark off. See. We're getting spark! Woohoo! Now we gotta figure out how to not get spark. Shut it off. Alright, check it out. We really haven't been filming that much. My apologies, but we've been both getting work done. We got the wiring wired all up. All we have is basic just starter button and on off. And we got the brakes hooked up, we got the throttle hooked up. We need to get the gas line. I did the gas line. We need to put gas in here. Gas line just kind of dangling here a little bit. So let's put some gas in this thing and see if this baby will fire up. Oh, look at this mess. So if I put the cap on the top, I would have to be doing that. This is slightly easier, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Come on. Go, baby. Don't kill the battery.
And that battery.
Don't kill the battery.
It's already dead.
Jeez. Nice battery.
Yeah, I knew we should have bought the new one. Alright, so we went to go grab the battery charger, and this carburetor started leaking like a sieve, so I guess we just gotta clean it. Alright, so we cleaned the carbs. It's now no longer leaking, which is good. We have a jump box on the battery, so we'll see if this thing runs.
Woohoo! Yeah, buddy.
Let's make sure. Okay, just shut.
Yeah, buddy. Watch that tubing. The tubing in the impeller. Tubing's very close to the impeller.
Huh?
Ready to get sucked in.
Is it?
Be careful.
Alright, so we put the cover back on. This thing runs. So nothing's permanently hooked up right now. I want to get this thing running. The brakes are kind of a little sketchy, but they seem to be working. The throttle's a bit, you know, it works, but that's not permanent. Trust me, that's not permanent. I don't have the gear shifters yet, so I'm just gonna have to manually shift this thing into gear. But I want to see what this thing can do. I want to see if the gearing is right on this thing. So, should we try low range first?
Sure.
There it is. That's low range. Ready?
Do it.
So that worked.
It's kind of low.
That was very low. Alright, so that was low range. That was low, I guess. Very slow. So let's try high range. That's high range. I want to see if this thing will spin tires. What was that?
The belt came off.
That was not a good noise.
No, that was cool. At least it didn't break the chain. Well, you floored it. It spun.
Okay, I'm gonna have to rethink my whole transmission mounts because everything is broken.
Nice. That was great. Good test.
That lasted what?
One burnout. Still look good?
Belts looks good. Look at this. Okay, look at this thing.
Yeah.
That mount just completely bent. That one stayed, I guess.
Did it slip?
It just, dude, the whole
bolt-
thing just
I know
came
it.
sideways.
What do you think of that?
Well, I'm gonna have to rethink my design on this. I don't think it's strong enough.
It works in low, but
Yeah, it works. It worked in low range, but it spun the tires
you
a
definitely.
little bit.
Well, that's because you only had a second of power before the belt passed you.
These engines, the Predator 670s, they're not really known for their fast speed, but they have a lot of torque. It's a 670, it's V-twin, it's a lot of power in these engines. Clearly.
Obviously.
Yeah. And clearly my mounts for this transmission were just not strong enough for this setup. So
It's not good when your parts are flying past you.
no.
All right. Well.
Back to the drawing board. We'll try again. Yeah. Clearly, the mounts for this transmission just were not strong enough. I guess this engine has a little bit more power than I thought it had. And yeah, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this mount is bent like a pretzel, and the transmission is now sideways about 4 or 5 degrees on this thing. So yeah, either we're going to redo all the mounts for this transmission, or I'm just going to try and figure out how to make it all stronger. But either way, we have to take the engine off, take the gas tank off, the seat off, so therefore we can get access to this thing and try and fix it. Yeah, it bent the mount for the bearing on here, which this is 1/4-inch plate, as well as bent this piece. Now granted, this piece was already bent. I had to do an S-bend on here to get it to line up with this mount on the bearing with the mount on the transmission, so it had an S-bend in it. So, and it just bent it even worse. Alright, so the primary on this thing, it's kind of stuck, collapsed. And I'm looking at this thing and it looks like the weights are just, they're just stuck in a certain position, and I just need to force it back together, and then it will kind of hopefully snap back into place. So I have one of these puller type things. I'm just gonna put it on here and try to force it closed, and hopefully it'll kind of just snap back into place. And hopefully I didn't break this thing. Alright, that seemed to work great. Just snap back into place and seems to be still functioning. Alright, now pretty much all I did to this was I added a bearing that goes on the output shaft of this transmission, and that is directly bolted onto the frame and connected right to the bearing for the jack shaft. So hopefully this is now strong enough to withstand the forces of this engine and not just completely twist the frame and mangle all the mounts. All the mounts on this thing was just like completely bent. So, and pretty much that's the only thing I changed, was just add this bearing on the output shaft. So let's put this thing back together, fire it back up, put it in high range, and see if this is now strong enough. Alright, let's see if this thing will start. It's on choke, engine's on, battery's been charging, here we go. Alright, it runs. The idle's a bit low, but it works. So I have a camera aimed right at the transmission, so if it does blow again, I at least have a camera on there. So let's see if it'll work now. Alright, so it's in high range right now, because we know low range works, so high range is the big test to see if it'll work. I was expecting a little bit more wheel spin than that, but let's try again. Is it surviving? So the chain is a little bit looser, just a little bit, but it doesn't seem to move that much. It may just be settling. Alright, so the new stronger mount seems to be working. The chain only loosened up just a tiny little bit, but this engine is definitely not running at peak power. To be honest, I'm surprised it's running at all, because this has been, I think I already said this thing's been sitting outside getting rained on for 2 years, so I'm just happy it runs at least. Most of the stuff on here is not permanent. I want to redo the throttle pedal. The gas tank works great. I do need to redo the vent on here because I don't have a smaller fitting on here with a smaller barb fitting, so I need to buy one of those. The mufflers work great. This thing sounds amazing. The brakes kind of work, but it's a little sketchy only having rear brakes, and with an off-road vehicle, especially with these kind of tires, having only rear brakes is kind of a death wish. So once I get this thing running a little bit better and testing it, I do want to eventually on this project put front brakes on that, which would require putting bigger tires on the front. That means we have to put bigger tires on the back. We got to change the gearing for that, and then we can have both front and rear brakes, so therefore it's not a danger of, if the chains fall off, we completely lose brakes altogether. But other than that, this thing seems to be working great. We do need to also do the shifters for the transmission. I'm just gonna do my normal, just linkage style shifters and just have 2 shifter handles. Because I really want this thing to be like a miniature version of the CBR 1000 project. It's just, this obviously is not going to be as fast, but I kind of want it to look the same and have the same kind of super soft, cushy suspension, which this thing definitely has. I also need to add a sway bar to this thing because the amount of body roll this thing has, if I don't add a sway bar, is going to be ridiculous. So, anyway, guess that's it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next video.